If you don't have original research, you are just sharing opinions. And if you look around these rooms, there's a ton of people filled with opinions and even great stories. But if you want people to invest and invest significant money in you or in your business, or what you're trying to offer to them, the problem you're trying to solve, you need data to back it up.
How do you truly stand out as a thought leader in a world of AI? How do you get yourself featured in the media? How do you get booked to speak on the biggest stages? Those are all topics that we're going to talk about today on this edition of the Wealthy and Well-Known podcast. I'm being joined by one of my best friends, one of the smartest people that I know, and also one of the most successful personal brands in the world. You're about to meet Jason Dorsey, who is a best-selling author. His most recent book is Z-Economy. He is one of the highest paid, most booked speakers, particularly in the non-celebrity category, but as a true thought leader and expert, one of the busiest speakers in the world today. He also runs with his wife the Center for Generational Kinetics, which is perhaps, at least in my opinion, the most respectable research firm in the world. We are clients of his, and we're going to talk about how using original research is a huge part of the future of building personal brands. Just in the last week, he has had inbound media requests from media outlets like CNBC, Bloomberg, CNN. He's regularly been featured in the New York Times and several other places, the USA Today. Their work appears all over, and they work with some of the most respectable corporate clients in the world to create proprietary research. And also, as I mentioned, we have been a client of theirs, and we've referred several of our members at Brand Builders Group to do original research studies. It's one of the things that we are inviting our authors at Mission Driven Press to do as part of a regular let's just cut that part about MDP. So I'm excited to have Jason. Welcome to the show, buddy.
Hey, thank you. Thrilled to be here. Thrilled to be a non-celebrity busy speaker.
I knew you were going to say something about it.
Finally, I did it. I'm just one tier below those celebrities.
Well, and it's, I say that tongue in cheek, but it is true, and it's a pride point because you get paid a lot of money as a speaker and to be in boardrooms and to be on boards and to be an advisor to companies, and it has nothing to do with your celebrity. I mean, it has something to do with some of your celebrity, but it has mostly everything to do with your research and the original insights that you bring. So I want to start right there. Tell us why research has been a critical part of your journey, and why do you think original research is important for personal brands, in the future?
Yeah, I have a core belief that has driven my work and caused all the growth for our business and with our clientele, and that is, if you own the data, you own the conversation. And it changed my life, changed my career, changed everything about our business, the opportunities we got, the influence we had, the people we got to meet, the work we got to do, because the world right now is full of opinions, tons of opinions, and it's dominated by opinions and observation. And the problem now is executives and entrepreneurs and business leaders and people making big bets don't want to make them based on opinions and observations. They already have enough risk in their life and in their business. They are trying to ground their decisions, ground their strategy, base their vision on tangible, real data that they can trust and believe in to inform and really give them an advantage. And so what that means for us and for our clients is we're the people that our competitors cite, which is amazing. I have this core belief that if you are having to cite other people's data to make your point, you're not the expert. Somebody else is. Now, you may be adding your own perspective to it and stories and all that. I got it. But the reality is you want to be the one who's cited. And so for us, when we lead statistically accurate studies, whether that's nationally or globally, all of a sudden we're the source of truth. And I think that's so important right now. In the age of AI, it's easier than ever before to create content on any platform in any way you want. But what you can't create is statistically valid research that leaders are looking for to separate myth from truth. And I mean, you've heard me speak a bunch of times at these big events. Like, I believe it's never been more important, like truly a calling to separate myth from truth. It is so hard these days to know what's real and what's just made up. And when you give people real data that they can bank on, that they can truly make tough decisions, because remember, decisions today are high risk. When you think about executives, they're trying to not only grow their business, they're trying to keep their people employed, right? They're trying to deliver sure for customers and shareholders, but they're feeling the pressure. Entrepreneurs today, more competition than ever before. Put out a new book, more books published this year than ever before. So how do you not just stand out? I think that's too low of a bar. How are you truly unique and own a space
Mm.
where you are recognized as the one that's leading the field, maybe even inventing a field? And the way I think about that is you want to have the data, you want to own the data that fills in the gaps. It's not that, like, I speak on generations. It's not that millennials are entitled. Okay, that's interesting, but not new. Why? What shaped that? What caused it? Is it actually true? Why are millennials two generations, not one? Why do millennials most dislike other millennials in the workforce, right? These are things that if you can get to the root cause, we're like, oh, I never thought about that. I always wondered that. And that's the emotional response that drives people to want to work with you because you're hitting them logically, like, okay, that makes total sense. And emotionally, I've seen that, or that answers a core question of mine versus here's another story or a poem or, 3 points from my life. I think people, particularly executives and leaders and those in positions of responsibility, they like all that sort of stuff. There's a place for it. But when it comes to big decisions, challenging times, uncertain economies, more competition than ever before, AI's emergence, they are looking for research and data they can count on. And it's why clients like you and others come to us over and over and over again. And all these big, fancy, best-selling authors who we love working with and celebrities, but so many corporations use us to do their thought leadership research too.
Well, and that's interesting nuance to me that I never fully understood. I mean, it took a while for me to really understand how you use research, and I was like, why would companies pay all of this money for you to do research and then they don't share the research with other people? Like, as a thought leader, I'm going, the whole reason I want to do a research study is to put it out to, like,
Yeah.
establish our thought leadership and all that. And what you just said is going, there's kind of two ways to use the data. One is that these companies invest a lot of money for actual research and data to make their own internal strategic decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why it's like they're not sharing it. It's a competitive advantage.
Mm-hmm.
But that also ties into why personal brands need to have data, because that's what the big companies and that's what, very intellectual, sophisticated types of, buyers, that's what they're looking for, and that's what they're going to respond to,
Mm-hmm.
not just, oh, you had a video go viral, you had a TikTok
Mm-hmm.
video go viral.
Yeah, and the way I think about it is in the corporate world, our clients are banks and healthcare systems and huge tech companies. And, you can just go through the whole long list. And I like to say it's not even 80/20. They probably keep 90, 95% of the discoveries that we, gain for them internal and use it to inform their strategy. I speak at all these corporate boards and no recording, like all this sort of stuff, right? Like this is their competitive advantage, their competitive intelligence is going to shape their strategy for the next 5, 10 plus years. And they'll share maybe 5, max 10% of the discoveries because they then want to put out, hey, we found all these things. This is informing our product roadmap. This is informing the way we're delivering services or developing new products or serving our employees. So they still want to be known for it, but they're going to keep most of it internal. On the personal brand side, it's completely flipped.
Which has also become a huge new pool of people for you. And I want to understand, why has that happened? You used to do more corporate where it's like it's more internal
Yeah.
decision making, but now there is a rising tide of entrepreneurs and personal brands who are coming to you. So
Mhm.
why and how does that work?
Well, what happened originally is a lot of people are coming to me going, Jason, how are you in the media all the time?
Right.
How are you keynoting these huge conferences? Because it'll be like me, some Hall of Fame football player, a former president, and maybe somebody from McKinsey or some Harvard economist. And they're like, how are you featured on the main stage and have more time than any of them, which
Yeah.
happens all the time? And I'm like, because people want insights they can use. They want data they can't get anywhere else. So they go, oh, I got it. I could totally use that, or that solves that problem, or I never thought about it that way, or, you want to really fill in these gaps for them. And so once I started being on all those stages all around the world, and the beautiful thing about data is it translates and it travels. It has handles. People take it all over the place. I mean, we do so much international work. It really opens up markets. So that happened. And then all these personal brands who you and I know are like, Jason, like, love you, man. but you're not huge on Instagram. You don't have a big LinkedIn following.
Right.
You're not all these things. Like, how is this happening? I'm like, well, we have what they can't get anywhere else.
Mm.
Right. And because of that, once you're the source of truth, everybody wants you. And so it started like that. So then we started working with a few personal brands and was like, hey, we'll do for you what we've done for us. But we need your help. And I think this is a real key. Personal brand research strategy and thought leadership strategy is different than corporate, right? When it comes to personal brands, we want to really understand what is the position you're seeking to own.
Mm.
You want to be the source of truth. You want to be the one who's cited. So we think about it as like, what are your dream headlines that would come out of your research study? Or what are the questions that if you knew the answer to, everybody would cite you or come to you or hire you? And when you think about like the core markets for the people that, for example, so many who learn from you, entrepreneurs, they love that. Dramatically grows their business. They make so much money off our studies. All these personal brands, when you have coaches and consultants and people that are selling professional services or parts of membership, they love it because now they have something that's tangible. They can turn into all these things. It's evergreen. And they're now the source of truth in something that's very intangible. So all of a sudden, those sorts of groups really used it. And then with authors, what happened is they're like, oh, well, I went to go sell the book, Jason. And when I put in there that we were going to do a national research study, we got all this interest. We've had so many friends get huge book deals or choose to do their own because they were able to generate so much business from it. So it's when you do a study, you get something tangible out of it that then drives something tangible. And I think so much today doesn't do that for people, particularly personal brands.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of hype out there.
It's a lot of hype, and there's a lot of people with fancy demo reels because there's good video editors that can make you look better on stage. There's a lot of people with big social media followings because you can fake that. There's no shortage of books that are coming out, and some legitimate bestsellers, some not so legitimate, but get to say they're bestseller, whatever. Yeah. But it's interesting because you do these research. This is what a research report looks like, right? So
our state of Gen Z.
This is your internal one. So a lot of times when you put these together for clients, they this is what a deliverable would be. You would give them data and then they would turn it into maybe something like this. Is to go, one thing that's been fascinating to me is it took us 7 years to write The Wealthy and Well-Known book.
Great book.
To make it a New York Times bestseller. It took us a few months to work with you to create the Trends in Personal Branding National Research Study. The thought leadership that came from that was equal to, if not far greater than having a New York Times bestselling book, because it was fast, it was relevant, timely, and it was practical, right? And even this is our experience and our frameworks and things, but the numbers are, it's like the numbers never lie kind of a thing. So this is something that I think there's not enough personal brands thinking about and going, especially in a world of artificial, this is a way to stand out big time.
Yeah. And I speak at a lot of events now for personal brands, which I never did before. I'm having a blast doing it. And my mission or my calling, and I'm very direct, which is if you don't have original research, you are just sharing opinions. And if you look around these rooms, there's a ton of people filled with opinions and even great stories. But if you want people to invest significant money in you or in your business or in what you're trying to offer to them, the problem you're trying to solve, you need data to back it up. And people get hung up a lot of times oh, well, Jason, I'm not a researcher. I'm like, hey, I got a lot of researchers. I got that part covered. What we need is people that have a vision of a space they want to own, questions that they feel are not solved, that if were solved would really drive change. And they have, and this is something that, we turn down a lot of people that come to us now, because I'm like, look, if you don't really know your space, doing a study is not going to change anything for you. If anything, you're going to have an amazing study, but you're still not going to have the depth. But if you've been doing this for several years or many years and you really have a point of view and a position, a study is game changing for you. And, for us, most of the studies we do now are 60 days or 90 days.
And as an entrepreneur, approach, this is a problem we can solve by writing you a check. It's I can't get someone to write a book for me by writing a check. I have to put the sweat equity into the whole thing. But we pretty much just write you a check, have a few conversations. You guys go do all the work here of the grunt work of making sure it's statistically valid, fielding the samples, and then even analyzing the data and giving back to us what you found. By the way, if anyone is listening, if you go to freebrandtraining.com/research, so freebrandtraining.com/research, we will connect you directly to Jason and his team if you want to explore and kind of think about, okay, could a study fit for you? And you do different types of studies and, kind of meet different budgets and different scopes and magnitudes and things like that. Um,
Yeah, our typical client, the way we think about it today is they're gonna invest in this study, the whole study, beginning to end, about 4 hours over the project. And the most important thing is they need a vision, right? What is the space you wanna own? And I would say most people have it, some don't. And when they don't, we're like, hey, go figure out these questions. Like, take some time, talk to your advisors, your friends, your family.
mhm.
Once you know those,
Then
we'll
come
do
back.
all the work. Yeah. And then come back. But a lot of times people come to us and say, hey, I got a book idea. Can you do a study to inform the book? Absolutely. We do that all the time. Or I've written the book.
You're doing that right now for one of our mission-driven press authors, Eric Thomas, E.T. the Hip Hop Preacher, which is interesting because
He's fantastic.
he's fantastic.
I mean, so inspiring.
One of the best speakers in the history of the world.
Yeah.
One of the biggest social media followings. AJ and I grew up watching his videos, but like also classically known as a motivational speaker, even though he's a PhD.
Mhm.
But now this is the first time ever
Mhm.
where he is releasing original research,
Mhm.
right? Which will be true thought leadership, not just insights and inspiration, which he's always done
Mhm.
very, very well.
Yeah.
But now even at his level going, yeah, I want to have that academic substantiation. I want to have that objectivity. I want that data-driven backing to what I'm saying. And that's another powerful part of this for personal brands watching is that you feel much more like a professional when you've done a study.
Mhm.
There's an element, just like when you publish your first book,
Yeah.
or just like, you first launch your first website, you're like, oh, it starts with a business card. It's like, oh, I'm official. I have a business card. Oh, now I have a website. And then it's like, oh, I have a book. Oh, I have a best-selling book. This is one of those things where you go like, whoa, even though you guys did the work, it's like, this is my research.
Yeah.
It's my space. It's my questions. It's my vision. And now I am truly like the preeminent thought leader. And when AJ and I did the Trends in Personal Branding National Research Study, we included in the book.
Mhm.
Uh,
Well, and y'all got on Good Morning America right away.
That's
I mean,
right.
It
Yeah.
was incredible.
The day after we released our research study,
Mhm.
I mean, we got on Good Morning America. This is no lie. We put it out there for free, and they literally were like, "Hey, we saw your study. Can you come on tomorrow?" Now we didn't know it was Good Morning America. It was actually like some other affiliate, and then the interview went so well, Good Morning America picked it up and aired it. We didn't even know, and it was just like, wait, what? Like, how many years of doing 10,000 other things would we try to do and not ever get that?
Yeah, and people are always like, because I've been on the Today Show, I don't know how many times, right? All these 60 Minutes, 20, like all of these TV shows, tons of them. We were on the cover story of the New York Times, and people are like, how do you do that? I'm like, look, if you bring journalists data, they are ecstatic. Like it makes their job so easy. It's something they can cite, and then they want your perspective. And I think that's the part that's hard for people sometimes to conceptually understand. I just did a media interview, I guess maybe 2 days ago now, and I was on with this journalist, really well-known journalist, and she said, Jason, I'm so happy to talk with you because you are bringing data and actual research, and every other person that we've interviewed just had opinions. And it is such a difference. And I saw the story because it just came out, and I included all through the story.
Mm.
And I just think like when people realize how straightforward it is to get this done and like, hey, you have your own study, you own all the data, we own nothing. Yeah, we do the work, but it's your vision. You're approving everything. And then you determine of all the data and insights that you found, because it's packed with discoveries, you get to share them with the world, not us. This is all you.
Mm.
We are just here as a resource and a partner. And we'll take the mystery away. Like we'll do all the hard work, but you have to know enough about your space where when we give it to you, you can just run with it and let the world know. Because that's our mission, right? Our mission is to elevate thought leaders through research. And if we do that, it like that's my legacy, right? That's the thing I get fired up about. That's why I speak at all these events. And I'm like, look, if nothing else in this room changed except y'all went out and all did studies and were able to then elevate the expertise of the world because of that, like, cool, I'm done. Like that is the greatest thing ever because all the millions and millions and millions of people that are going to be helped that way. And sometimes people come to us which is interesting, and they'll say, well, what if we find things we don't like? I'm like, you will find things you don't like. That's research. but you share what you're going to share, right? And oftentimes,
But also you should want to know. Like you should want to know. Like if you're truly trying to help people and you're truly trying to be a thought leader, you should want to know if something you're saying is wrong. Like if you have a point of view that is inaccurate or incorrect and you're out there advancing it, it's like you want to know that. And it becomes a fascinating thing to talk about your own misconception about, like, I had this misconception coming into the research study.
mhm,
Like I couldn't believe in our study, as an example, I never thought doctors would be an important market for us, that people cared that we asked this question about which profession does it matter
mhm,
to a consumer that they have a personal brand. Doctors was the number one profession.
mhm,
61% of Americans said they want their doctor to have an established personal brand. Doctors weren't even on our radar as prospects for what we do at Brand Builders Group. And now we work with Dr. Josh Axe, and we work with Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and we work with all of these really incredible, chiropractors and wellness people, because it's like, oh, in the health space, it matters to be able to like build a personal brand that you can trust.
mhm.
So those, you want to know when you're wrong. If you should want to know.
Yeah, and the way I like to think about it is like it's new information that can inform whatever it is you're sharing. And sometimes you find that hey, I've been saying something and it doesn't land anymore in the way people think, right? Like we'll go out and I mean, I'll give you an example. We were just doing studies on employee benefits for one of our corporate clients, and free mental health services was at the top. And the company goes, "We don't offer that at all." I'm like, "Well, that's not a mistake. It's an opportunity. Because clearly this is the number one thing
Mm,
that this whole group wants, that if you offer it, shows is going to drive recruiting and retention and long-term commitment." Or on the flip side, we just did, because, I speak on generations. We just did a study, and what Gen Z most wants more than anything else is stability. Well, stability
mm.
is one of the things that we can actually offer for many in Gen Z. We just don't emphasize it. And then we look at, well, what actually messages stability
Right.
for them
We
to
think they
believe it?
want ping pong tables and like, yeah,
Yeah, scheduling flexibility and all this other stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, but it makes sense. You go through years of instability. Of course, you want stability on the other side. And every time that I can present that with our research and the leaders, whether they're in person or at some, big virtual event, they're like, wow, I never thought about that. That makes so much sense. Like, as soon as you do, the more you do that, the more they're ready to hear everything else, right? And I think that's the key point. Great research advances a conversation.
Mm,
And I tell people, like, just advance the conversation. And it doesn't even have to matter, like, are you right or wrong or this or that? It's like you're just trying to advance the conversation. And that's the part that drives so much media for us, because I don't have an agenda. I'm just like, hey, this is what we found. We were shocked. We were surprised. We were thrilled. We were all these things. I just did an interview. I was like, we did not want to discover this at all.
mm,
This is super concerning, but it's real and it's the truth. And we need to be talking about this.
yeah.
And it changed all the energy.
So again, as a business owner, part of what's amazing is just like, this is a problem we can solve by writing a check and partnering with you. If you're curious about that, go to freebrandtraining.com/research. We'll connect you to Jason and their team. Um, I want to talk about what to do with the study once you have it,
Yeah.
right? So you invest this money,
Mhm,
your team goes out, does your thing. We collaborate together. We come up with this amazing, brilliant, like, these are the insights.
mhm,
Um, this sitting in a room on a table is not going to do anything.
mhm.
So what do you do with your most successful clients? What do they do with this to turn it into driving business?
Yeah. Our belief is you should be able to make at least a 10x return on your money. But that 10x return is not going to come from doing the great study. We're going to crush it. Like we crush our studies. Like, people love it. Like, we know they're going to be amazing. All of the return is going to be putting the study's discoveries into action.
Mm,
And so what does that mean? We have something called our findings activation framework, but it's how do you take the data and discoveries and message them to the world in such a way that it drives your key business outcomes? As you can probably guess, I'm into data, and we should be able to measure everything. We should be able to measure all the results from the study. And I don't mean putting the insights into action. That's absolutely true if it's an internal study, meaning a company is leading the study to drive a business strategy. But from an external revenue generation standpoint, which is how personal brands should think about it,
mhm,
this should be able to drive leads. It should get you paid a lot more money, should drive media, should drive longer term relationships, and should help you to offer to be able to solve bigger and different challenges. So the way we do that is we're like, okay, great. You get this beautiful data set. You get your PowerPoint, and let's pretend that your findings deck is 60 slides, right? And I've already pulled out all the stories. Here's all the great stories. Here's the charts. Here's all the headlines. Here's everything. Served it up to you. What do you do? So the first thing we tell them to do is you're going to go through there and you're going to find the 10 or 20 that just give you tingles. They get you fired up. You're going to go circle them right all over, star, do whatever. But you need to start to figure out what are the stories you want to tell. Because there's not just one story in a study. There's 10, 20, 30 stories. And you want to be able to tell them sometimes together and a lot of times individually, because different stories resonate with different audiences. So we're going to go from that and we'll say, okay, what is the best way to reach those that you want to reach? So I speak to corporate executives and leaders and so forth. So for me, they want a white paper. And they want that because it shows sort of depth around the discoveries. So that means we find those 10 or 20 insights and we go and we have a framework, which is basically like, what did you find? What does it mean? Why is it urgent or important? What do I do with it? And so then we fill that out. And that's how we begin to develop these white papers. But for other clients of ours, like entrepreneurs and some of these personal, they are not interested in a white paper. They're like, what am I going to do with a white paper? They instead want a video series where we're going to take each insight and turn it into evergreen videos that they can go and share for a year, 2 years. Maybe we turn it into a course where all of a sudden now you have a research-backed course. You know, for so many of our clients use it for books. Some are for books they want to do in the future. Some are for books they're working on now. My favorite, we have people that release their study to go promote books they've already done. Right? They'll just add bonus material or say they've updated it, or they'll just release the study and then use that to get media again to be able to then talk about the book. Studies give you permission to talk with people, gives permission for people to want to listen to you because you have something they can't get anywhere else. We also, we use it a lot to, for all kinds of demand gen. So while people turn into infographics, while people turn into short form videos, animated videos, people turn it into op-eds. Like I was on one of the big media outlets for an op-ed I wrote, which was amazing on Marketplace. So like a lot of these things are just, you should have at least a year, if not 2 years of content in a single study. People always ask me, well, do I have to do another study? Or I'm like, you can, but it's better to max out the value from this. And so we show you, here's how you use it in your speeches. Like for me, I know like you do, we use our study in our speech. It's also the lead gen. So for us, all the people in the audience, whether it's 1,000 or 5,000 or 50, what do? They take out their phone, they scan the QR codes, and then they can get the study. But what's really wild, and I never, ever thought this would happen, you would not believe how many people want the hard copy versions of it. So the hard copy version you have, like we have so many clients and they will pay to get the versions so that everybody, in fact, a lot of them want it instead of the books, or they'll take it in addition to the books because it feels very current and of the moment and we could keep updating it. So we see that. We use it in our consulting process. So for anybody who's doing professional services, you can then say, hey, I have a research-backed process, which is huge in all of that. Same for communities. I mean, the whole idea is, what are the problems you're trying to solve with the study? How can you turn that into the right thing to educate and inform that audience? And it looks different for everybody. We do live webinars. We do pre-recorded. Our clients use this in so many different ways. I know my favorites is creating indexes or creating, now they can create their own quizzes. You know, that's top lead gen for so many people right now. And now you have one that's research backed. And once people get the vision and go, oh, I got it. So I could take what I already do. You'll come in and make this research backed. And then I could turn into all these marketing tools and PR tools and communication tools. I just get to level up every single thing I do.
Talk about research backed real quick, and then we'll land the plane because this has been amazing. But I think so. You've really made a strong case for the power of research, the reasons to do it, both for just getting actual answers and insights, also for branding and positioning, and then also for perception and like price increases. Why can't I just do this myself with SurveyMonkey? Like, why do I need you? What makes something count as like real research versus like, why can't I just email my email list and come up with some questions and ask them? Can you talk about the difference between, a true academic methodology and statistically valid sample sizes versus just like, because people do this, right? They'll put something on their Instagram stories, they'll ask a question, and then they'll present it as like research. Why does that not count as real research?
Yeah, that's a great question. We actually, in our proposals, we have a whole page just on why you could do that and why it won't actually deliver all the things that you want. But basically, when you think about the difference between a study and a survey, just in a traditional sense,
Mm.
if I'm going to survey my list, you're not getting anything representative except of your list and except of the people who decided they like you enough or you offered some free thing for them to complete it. It doesn't actually represent anything other than the people on your list who had nothing better to do at that moment. Same with Facebook. It's whoever you reached or any of these. So in our model, generally our studies are 1,000 people and it's always weighted to something. So usually, for example, it's weighted to the US Census for age, gender, geography, and ethnicity. And we have 1,000 people because that gives us a margin of error plus or minus 3.1. 19
What? A margin of
margin of
error.
error, yeah. 19 out of 20 times, which is sort of what they call the 95th confidence interval. All of that to say,
Meaning that when you ask 1,000 people at that level, it's like that's going to be a statistically valid representative sample of the entire nation.
mhm.
And that's what makes it valid. It's not just 1,000 people took it, it's that the demographics of the 1,000 people who took it represent the demographics weighted and equivalent sort of to the national demographic.
Yeah, so we're going to match the US Census.
Okay.
And so we're going to have all the different states represented and genders and anything else. So like age, gender, geography, and ethnicity, that gives us a really low margin of error. This is very important because we always publish methodologies. So that's why all these media outlets want to use it because they know, oh, this is statistically accurate. Otherwise, you're just doing a survey. If you want to own a space, you have to be statistically accurate. You want a very low margin of error because that means it's real and valid. And once you do that, then people will cite you. The media will cite you, academics will cite you, business leaders will cite you, boards of directors, investor groups, all of these places will cite you because you have a statistically accurate national study. That's what I always tell people. You have to name your study and give it a credible name, not some cheeky name, because you want to be the source of truth. So own that space. Be the source of truth because your data, your study is valid. It's statistically rigorous. And that's why so many big companies use us. That's why all kinds of different groups partner with us. So many personal brands is because if you're going to invest the time to do it, you want to do it right. So I think for us, the big, at least what I hear from our clients, because most of them are repeat or direct referrals, what I hear from our clients is we do study design differently than anybody else because we do study design specifically for thought leadership. That is what we do. Then we manage the process so the 1,000 or 2,000 or many participants go through it and they'll meet whatever the criteria are. Maybe they're all people that have over $1 million. Maybe they all are business owners. Maybe they're all moms. Like we do all kinds of studies. And then the analysis where we pull out the stories for them, that's like magic. And they get so excited. And the response at the end.
Right. So even if I'm not like a numbers person, I don't really understand.
no.
You're doing that extrapolation for me.
We do the whole
and
thing.
then I just can go be the storyteller.
You can present your study the same day. We teach you how to present it. We give you our framework. We record presenting it as if we're you. We give you everything you need so that you can take whatever your strengths are and your passion and immediately integrate the study and the discoveries so that you can start telling the world. And, for us, we always believe you should create a research hub, which is something on your website that everybody just goes back to that'll have your key findings and your perspective on it and, white papers, infographics, videos, those sorts of things. So you have this sort of center of truth that's now a part of what you do. And I just, again, if you own the data, you own the space. If you're constantly citing other people to make your point, you're missing an opportunity to really step up to that next level. Or as you said earlier, one step below a celebrity.
Well, there you have it. Again, freebrandtraining.com/research if you're interested in this. And share this episode with someone you know who is a personal brand or an entrepreneur who is ready to go to that next level to like true authority, right? This is, this idea of statistically valid, academically accurate and sound. This is a level of legitimizing your expertise and your own confidence in what you're teaching. And that's what this is really about. So make sure if you know someone like that who should be doing this at that level and owning a conversation, share this episode with them. Make sure you hit subscribe, tell us your thoughts down below, and we'll catch you next time on the Wealthy and Well-Known podcast.